Oh, we're good? Okay, all right, we'll try that again. Okay, we're going to start tonight's meeting, and we will start with roll call. Angela, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah!
Okay.
Loud and clear.
All right. Sorry.
Can you turn it up a little bit? Now it's a little too
Angela
soft.
Ippolito, I'm here.
I think there we go. Okay. Sure, you want to just we'll go down the line?
Jer Germa, present.
Joe Sheridan.
Ariane Purdy, present.
Welcome, Arian, our newest member.
Thank you.
All right, so should we wait for Bill, or
Yeah, hold on. One moment.
Another minute, maybe. He gets tied up in, traffic a lot this time of night, so. Well, I wonder if I should text him. I can't imagine he was caught up in all that stuff in Cambridge, so,
Yeah. Is it an issue, Krista, if we go out of order on?
You could start potentially with approval of past meeting minutes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Joe, unscrew that line.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll move to approval of the past meeting minutes. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at them. They're a bit long. So I was thinking maybe if folks did have a chance to look at them, then we could provide those comments. If not, maybe given the length of them, we just let everybody know that they're there. They can send you comments, Krista, and then at the next meeting, we can approve them all if that works.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I think that would be better than us reading it, live.
okay.
So are we going to email Krista that we read them, or I think we still need to take a vote to approve?
Yeah, we'll still take a vote
do
to
it next
approve,
week.
but if everybody could just review them, and if you have any comments, send them in. If you don't send them in, we'll just assume no comments, and then
Sounds good.
Krista you can send us around track changes or something.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what do you think?
So I have not heard from Bill yet. Angela, I don't know if you've had a chance to hear from him.
Yeah, let me try text him again.
Okay.
I feel like we could at least probably move on to 80 Puritans, since we've,
Sure. Yeah.
heard that one before. So let's do that. Okay. So then we will open the hearing for petition 2521, 80 Puritan Road by Scott B. Miller, requesting a site plan special permit to construct a porch and a new gabled roof, resulting in approximately 754 square feet of additional living area within the top story of the existing structure in the A3 zoning district at 80 Puritan Road. And I know that you submitted the new plans, so thank you for doing that. I don't know if you want to, add anything, or you don't have to, but.
Yeah, I submitted the new plans. There was an issue on the square footage,
Yep.
so we got that at 748,
Okay.
actually. So that, and I don't know if there was an issue on the height, but that's in the site plan as well.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think the issue on the height was simply the calculations that look different on various plans, which I think look okay on this one. Go ahead, sorry, Joe.
I was just going to say, if with that, then I was actually going to ask you and Angela, if you had any further comments, because I feel like on this one, that was sort of what we were down to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to look at this again, because I calculated again off the drawings that you just sent us on the 6th. And I gotta say, I'm still getting a different number, and I just don't know. I think I'm doing it the right way. I mean, I'm doing it the way I'd calculate anything else, but I'm still coming to a total of 858 square feet, which is basically 104 feet over where you're allowed to be. And I've even been looking in the bylaw to see you know, if we have any wiggle room on this, and I just don't see it because it's actually in the definitions and descriptions that, you know, it's not a number that we, it's not listed as a dimensional regulation that the zoning board can grant any relief on. You know, I just, I don't know. And Jared, I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it, because I don't want to be the only one,
Well,
you know,
What is
causing a
confusing is
problem here.
I'm not seeing the change because the 7'2" height, has the floor plan diminished?
Yeah, he shrank it, yeah. And then you got to take out the closets and, you know, any sloping areas. So once you do that, you know, that's when he got down to 748.
But you calced it and it's not 748, Angela?
Right, I got 858, yeah, I got 858. And I used basically, so I'm gonna tell you what I used, just so that we're, you know, you have a right to know exactly how I went about this. So if you want to take a look at your A10, the drawing A10 on your plans dated 5/6. So I'm looking at your third floor. Just let me know when you're there,
Yep.
and then I can
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
you how.
go ahead, Angela.
Okay, so as you're looking at it, I first calculated the transept area. Okay, so left to right, a bedroom, you know, hallway into the extension of the room, not including the deck. And I was basically using 10 feet by, what is that, 35 feet, 8.5 inches. And based on that calc, I took that rectangular space, which is kind of the cleanest space there. And based on that, I got 358 within you know, an inch to half an inch or so square feet. Okay, then I went box by box. I did the living area, just the living area, which would be 18 feet 3.5 inches by 15 feet 1.5 inches. And I did that calculation.
Angela?
And I got, yes?
There's an error in that, though. It's actually an error, or it's sort of a random thing on the drawing. But that
Yeah.
18-foot 3.5, if you look at the arrows that are attached to it, that
Yeah.
is landing in some random spot in the hall, or in the eaves.
Okay. So how much am I looking at? Probably more like,
Well, there's no
Is it
there's no
50?
dimension lines on it. But if you did
Yeah.
the 12, if you did the 12.5 on the
it's
other,
not 12, yeah, it's 12 feet, 8.5 inches, which is much narrower than the other one.
right? But if you
Let's
Are-
even say 13 feet for argument's sake, I understand where you're going.
yeah,
with
there's
this.
a lot of
Makes sense.
dimensions missing. But
Yeah.
if you called that out at 14 feet and then calced it, you'd be getting closer. I don't know what those. I think that's just
Yeah.
a measurement
still-
error.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so, but I'm still looking at 15 feet, 1.5 inches on the depth into the building, correct? That looks like that.
That
one's-
15.5 is correct, and the back 17-foot 1.5 is correct.
Some of this seems to be legacy, because the section's still showing that 18.3.5 being occupiable space on the building section, SO1. So that's probably where that 18.3.5 is coming in.
Yeah, and
How it's got transposed on the plan.
yeah, and this section,
I see, yeah.
I mean, this has not been altered from the last time, because it
Right.
is showing that there's the 18.3.5. You're
so
right.
that's probably, it just got
And,
transposed on the.
and again, I think the conversation we had is this is showing the top of the wall at 7'2", which isn't necessary. So it sort of has been over-reduced.
What is it,
where-
7.3, Chair?
I'm sorry, what?
Is it 7.3 that we're looking at?
Well, it's 7'2", but you can slope a wall before that. I mean, that doesn't have to be the lowest point on a wall. to use the
In order for
space.
us to, right, but according
For us
our
to
bylaw,
measure
I think
it.
it is. That's right, and that's
Correct.
all that matters, is what I'm measuring.
Yeah, but I think where, like, the way in which to maximize the usable space was actually to shorten the building, and then bring the height of that knee, you've got a quote-unquote knee wall at 7'2", which isn't necessary. And it's in, especially the main living space in there, it's in a room that has studio ceilings. So that could be, we are measuring where the 7'2" is, but that 7'2" could be on the ceiling plane, not on the wall plane, in order to calculate that space. So we wouldn't be calculating the space under 7'2".
Right, I know that.
So you don't need to
need a
pull
wall there.
you don't need to pull the walls in, you need
Right.
to pull the ceiling down, and you're not going to perceive it because you still have the raised ceiling.
Right.
But as this is, the set isn't matching between section and plan.
So what isn't matching?
So if you go to SO1,
Yeah.
this is a section of the building, and it's showing the walls here
Yeah.
18 feet.
at 18 foot. There's the 18 foot. Now, if you go over here, there's the dimension of the 18 foot, but it's measured between that line and this
Arbitrary.
line,
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
which is
Yeah.
arbitrary.
So they reduced the plan but didn't match the dimension lines up with the reduced space.
Right, so, therefore, what I'm getting is something that's 104 feet in excess of the 50%. And the issue here is that, the planning board doesn't have we don't have any waiver capacity to.
Sorry, Angela, say that again?
We don't have the capacity to waive that 50%. And I'm just looking, and if zoning can waive it under dimensional relief, and I don't see that in here either. So, I just don't see it anywhere. The only thing I see is the regulation about what a half story is. And a half story is 50% of the floor beneath it, 50% or less of the floor beneath it. And it's a definition, it's in the bylaw, there's nothing in there that comes under, that allows us to create any kind of dimensional relief. Not that I could find. I mean, Krista, maybe you can look at this in a different light, but I just don't see it.
Well, I don't think, but we don't need to create dimensional relief, right?
No, but I'm just saying that, we keep coming back to this point, and
Right.
it's just,
The issue is that the building
Zoning-
really
oh,
shouldn't
zoning
be
allows you
built
to
if
do
at
it?
the end of the day,
it
doesn't
I don't know how they're
line up
measuring
with
this
the,
either.
with the
I
space
do
requirements
think it
of
might be-
zoning.
I do think it might be reduced, though, it just is the dimensions are off. So, like, if we had the dimensions correct, it might come out to the 748.
okay, so in other words, you think if they sort of remeasured it and recalculated their measurements here, that it would reflect.
I think
That's not
Jared's
gonna
right.
reduce it.
If you look at that 12.8.5 at the top, and you
Yeah.
just assume that living now is supposed to be 12.8.5, and we start to do the math that way, I think it's gonna come out.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's right. And I think that's sort of my point too, is that I think we can approve it, probably conditioning it on the
748.
fact that these are cleaned up and that a building permit can't be pulled, which it can't be pulled anyways, unless the plans satisfied the intensity requirements.
What is the intent of the half-story square footage limitations? Because it appears to me that is, like, the intent of that is to minimize building height.
And it's more to minimize the massing in the residential zones. It's like that everywhere in all of the residential zones.
So I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is by pulling the walls in without lowering the building, it completely defeats the purpose of the intent of minimizing the massing. Because what we're doing.
And a cupola on top too, so that makes it look kind of, very
Well,
tall.
I'll be frank with you. The cupola is balanced because it's in the center of the mass. These are the pieces that come to the edges of the mass. So by not lowering the roof and just reducing what we carve out as living space inside of it, it's counter to why that law is there.
Right.
So-
Well, regardless of why it is there, and I hear you, Jer. I think, I know in a perfect world, we'd have a very logical explanation. I have no answer for you. I don't know if it's in Mass Building Code. I can take a look there.
Yeah, but I guess my point
it's
there though is
something
that that's a little bit outside of our,
It
that's not
is.
really, that's not within our scope tonight.
Right.
But
So-
is everyone comfortable with the height?
Well, I think that's something
As
that
it's
the
calculated.
building department has to, well, I mean,
Right, and the building
Relying on the
commissioner
plans.
has reviewed these plans.
yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
The building commissioner has reviewed these plans.
So because the height calculation has to be based on the dormer, because
Yeah.
so it's from the top, so it's the 34'5", which is the center line between the top and the bottom of the dormer, because we had talked about trying to lower the house and bringing that down, so the calculation would also bring us a lower height there. The cupola is not going to be counted in because it's mechanical ventilation. So, I mean, we can do this, but I'm just going to state that, it's more than just what the word of it is, it's what the intent of it is. And if the intent is to keep the massing, and we're concerned about the massing next to the neighboring buildings, just to move this forward, I don't think it's great policy on our part, because it is a case where we have a number of concerns, and we also have a set that is inconsistent. So if it's built off section, it's going to be one thing. If it's built off plan, it's going to be another thing. And, this is from a professional, and it's just I do really have a problem saying to stamp it and move it forward. We keep coming back to it, but the problems don't get solved. So that's where my concerns are on this.
That's fair. Let's put a pin in this for a second. I'm just going to open it up to public comment. I'll start in the room. Is there anybody here on this? No? Okay. Is anybody online here to speak about this petition? Okay. If not, then
I mean, the other
We can bring this
caveat
back.
here is that Krista and I talked, since it's a continuation, I shouldn't be voting on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Without
So
Bill here too.
Bill needs to be here for an approval vote because it requires 4 voting members.
no word from Bill?
No, I didn't hear back. I'll check my email too, just to be sure.
Okay.
No, I didn't get anything from him.
All right, so at a minimum, I guess we'd have to continue this anyways. I would like to try to get this petition done, since it's been in front of
Yeah,
us
months,
for
yeah.
quite some time. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like, there's been a lot of improvement from where we started. I hear what you're saying, Jur, about the inconsistencies, but they don't seem so material to me, given all the other site plan special permit conditions. And even though it sort of goes without saying, I'd be willing to approve this as it is, just under the condition, which isn't even really necessary, that, you know, the building permit can't be issued until consistent plans are presented. And we could,
Right.
I would say that it has to conform with the exterior, you know, there can't be any changes made to whatever we're showing here for the exterior, because that really goes to what is in our jurisdiction in terms of making sure that, you know, the project's appropriate for the neighborhood and its character and that sort of thing.
So I would, you know, if we were to do that, then I'd want to make a motion that said we could, you know, approve a site plan special permit under these set conditions. And the set conditions determined by the planning board would be that, you know, we confirm that the height is, that the height measurements from every plan set, that we, you know, the most recent plan sets matching with the, you know, each floor matching to each floor on this, excuse me, May 6th set of plans have the identical locations of where the measurement was taken from. In other words, the 34 feet 5 inches to the midline of the highest dormer is consistent on every single drawing, whether I'm looking at the side, the back, or the front. And those, in some drawings, it's shown at a different level. And that all of the other calculations, specifically the calculations that show the reduction in the livable floor space on the 3rd floor, are corrected and recalculated to show exactly how they were calculated, so that we have clean numbers there. Because I just, you know, I understand how that mistake could have happened, but I don't want to approve a plan that looks like that.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, sure.
We have a survey plan. It says 29 feet from the average grade to the peak existing. We're going to rip off the entire roof.
Yep.
So we had to go by the plans, 34.5 to that, you know, to the midpoint.
Yeah, I think.
So, you know, you see what I'm saying? We're dealing with, we have to do that. We have to have a survey at the end with those measurements.
Yeah, I know. I think what they're saying, though, is that they're not sure, given the discrepancies between what's shown the inside and the outside.
Well, I think that's your biggest, you know, argument.
That is the
Yeah.
issue, right? I mean, I think if those lined up, then I think I mean, you know, you're not hearing anything else. I'm not hearing anything else other than that right
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
But
You know, I'm willing to accept that the numbers work on the 3rd floor. Okay, I can understand that. I'm willing to accept it, but I want to see the proof. I want to see the drawings, you know, resubmitted, not looking any different. I want to see these drawings with the correct measurements and the correct numbers on them. And that they all, you know, true out to the 758 that you're claiming is the size of the 3rd floor. And otherwise, it's, you know, I can't sign it because it's an indefensible plan for me. I mean, I'm not comfortable doing that. And if someone does ever contest it and say, well, this guy was able to do it, you know, why can't I? We just can't, we have no way to defend that.
so you're saying you would not approve until there are new plans submitted?
No, he can, I'm willing to accept these
So
plans,
long as-
but I don't want to, I'd like to have, you know, confirmation from Krista, who can speak with the building inspector and be sure that all of these corrections are made.
Sure.
And,
So you're saying, Angela,
yeah,
that you'd be willing to approve, but on the condition that these 3rd floor plans are presented before the permit's pulled that line up
That's
with
right,
everything
and that
else?
those numbers are clear and that they true out, that they show me the calculations that true out to the number.
Yeah.
And then I'm fine, and then if, you know, if Rich signs off on it and Krista can see it clearly, then I'm okay releasing that. I don't know if the rest of the board is, but that would be all right with me.
Okay. Unfortunately, Bill's not here, so we can't approve this tonight.
Okay, so why don't we have them in that case? So where are we going now? Do we have another meeting in May? I know we have town meeting on
I don't think we have another
next
meeting.
week, for God's sake. Yeah, we have next week, and then we don't have another meeting. Oh, gosh. when's our, I mean, we have to get these plans right. I'm sorry it's been such a slog, but I just, we're really trying to just get this straight. It's the planning board's on June 8th. Do I have the right date for that?
That's correct.
Okay. I
Um,
mean, with Bill not here, and, I mean, so three of us, right, because Ari can't vote,
yeah.
and,
So I think, we would have to continue this anyways. I think you've heard the position of everyone. I think if, in the interim, it'd be possible to get plans that, make everything tick and tie together, that would be helpful.
yeah.
Yep.
And now that if you have time, just send them out to us again, because
Yeah.
then we can vote on a clean set. Just to fix your calculations on this plan, and we'll be okay. But don't change anything else on the plan.
I would also be happy to, and I would invite you if you wanted to, if the architect wants to talk to us for just clarification on
Yep,
this.
yep.
There's also windows that show in plan that don't show in elevation. There's a lot of stuff in here that really needs some attention because these are construction documents. So it's very hard when things get built. If you say, oh, well, it's there on page this, I know it didn't show up over here, but it's just not typically how, it's really not typically what should be approved, is when there's consistent
Chair-
inconsistency.
Chair, would you make those notes then, and,
I made
send-
them last time.
oh, that's right.
That's why
You said
I'd be
that.
happy to talk through them with the architect, but we sat here last time and marked up drawings.
Yeah, I remember, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to continue?
So
Yeah,
moved.
motion to continue to our June 8th meeting.
All right, is there a second?
Second?
All right, all those in favor, do a roll
Angela
call.
Ippolito?
Jared Germa?
Joe Sheridan, aye.
And I abstain, Ariane Purdy.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next item that we have, we'll open up the hearing for petition 26.
Do you want to go back to voting to elect new officer positions?
I don't know, what do you think we should do? I feel like,
Do you want to be acting chair for this meeting and we could save it till the next meeting?
Sure, maybe we should do
Okay.
that. Okay,
We can put it on the next agenda.
okay,
And you'll remain acting chair as vice chair.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that maybe we could go to the end, because at least we could wait. I mean, it doesn't seem like Bill's gonna be here, but we can at least wait, and at least we have
Okay.
4 people
Or,
here.
yeah, we can move it to the end of the agenda.
These other ones without there being an issue. Okay. All right. We'll now open up the hearing for petition 2607 by Cheryl Berenbaum, requesting a site plan special permit to construct an 828 square foot ADU addition and deck to the existing single-family residence in the floodplain overlay district in the A1 zoning district at 3 Robin Lane. So
Thank you.
thanks for
Okay.
coming. I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Acting Chair, members of the board, I'm Attorney Matthew Wolverton. I'm here with the owner of the property, Cheryl Berenbaum, and I believe we have the architect on the team's call as well. So 3 Robin Lane is a single-family home. It's located in the A1 zoning district. The lot is a pre-existing non-conforming lot that contains 10,289 square feet of land with 80 feet of frontage. The existing structure on the lot is dimensionally conforming, and there is an existing shed on the lot that is located within the rear yard setback, and that shed is to be removed as part of this proposal. So the owner proposes a dimensionally conforming addition to the home with a separate attached 1-bedroom accessory dwelling unit as shown on the plans. The proposed addition will be dimensionally conforming in all respects, including height, setbacks, and open space requirements. The ADU will consist of 828 square feet of additional living space. Not that it's relevant, but the purpose behind this ADU for this particular homeowner is that her husband has suffered from a stroke and is currently residing in an assisted care facility. So the idea is that this would provide additional living space for her to bring her husband home. And that's why if you note on the plans, there's a proposed lift and some additional, space included with the bathroom, the kitchen, et cetera, to make it as accessible to the extent that it can be for him, given the current situation. And then with that, if the board has any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Great, thank you. I'll open it up to the board.
I was trying to understand where I know you've got it on, it's split levels and so forth, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm reading this correctly and understanding where the entrance of the ADU is.
Okay, so if you're facing the front of the home, there would be an entrance to the left-hand side that includes a concrete ramp coming up from the driveway. So there'd be a parking space there for the ADU component.
Oh, I see.
And then-
we're talking, all right.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Okay,
sort
go
of,
ahead.
it's on the left-hand side, but toward the back of the existing structure. I think it's most visible on the site plan there where you can see that would be the entrance.
Okay, so so the property line that sort of abuts the park, is that what we're talking about, that side of the house?
No, it would be the property line that abuts 5 Robin Lane. So if you're
Okay.
standing, if you're standing on Robin Lane facing it, it would be a separate
Oh, I
entrance.
see it now.
Yeah, to
I've
the
got it.
left-hand
I see it now.
side.
Okay, I see it now, thank you. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong drawing. Okay, and so the lift, you've got the lift going up from there. I'm not kind of seeing that.
So,
Maybe it's just kind of, I'm not looking at it correctly. I'm looking at A6.
Okay,
And so if I'm driving in along that, I'm looking at the building sideways, actually. The front of the house is on my left,
correct.
and the rear of the yard is to my right. And so that first turn in there is where the driveway would be. And so I'm going along there, and maybe I just don't see the entrance.
So if-
I see the stairs going up the back.
Is it where the roof is? Is
Yeah,
the
it would
roof
be
below?
where it's identified on the top of A6. If you look on the top of the sheet where it says roof below,
That's the entrance.
that would be the
Oh,
entrance.
I got it. Okay, perfect, thank you. I'm got my little laptop in front because the camera's not working on the big one, and I'm trying to look at the screen and back and not seeing anything too well. But I see it now, thank you very much.
What's the square footage of the house as it exists today? Do you know?
You know that? We have, I don't know if Gary, the architect's on the
He's
call.
on- Yeah.
He could
he
answer
knows
that
it. I
question.
don't know, Gary can answer that. Square footage. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Hi,
here.
Hey,
this is Gary here. Just
Hey,
bear
Gary.
with me a second, let me look it up.
yeah, sure.
Hi all, I'm Gary Cannon, architect. Okay. By the way, the entry is shown on A5,
Yeah, that's
the
where it
floor
looks.
below.
Yeah.
And then
thank you.
A6, A6 is a half level up, and that's the ADU level.
Thank you.
Okay, the existing house is 30, let's see. Existing house is 3571 gross square feet.
Oh, the existing is 3571 and the ADU is 828?
No, the ADU is 828 square feet.
Yeah.
But the total addition, because we have to, have the stairs that goes up from grade to the ADU level, including the lift, that's 161 square feet.
Okay,
So that's how we get to a total
I see, got it.
square footage of 1127. But
okay.
the ADU is under 900.
So the lift and the exterior appurtenances would be, I imagine, not included in the gross square footage. Is that correct?
For
The,
Square footage of the ADU.
the gross square footage of the ADU, yes, that's correct.
Sorry, you said the existing square footage is what you said? Just, because I see it stamped on here,
Yeah, so he said
3098.
3571.
Okay, it's showing here as 3098.
3098.
It's just behind the not for price, the pricing set thing. I think it's 3098, it's showing 3098.8. You're saying 35 something.
And I know you have the fence along the side. Is there any plan to put in anything else there, just along the neighbors or anything?
Like,
Like, I don't know, trees or plantings or anything? I don't know how tall the fence is.
there's no plans for.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, I don't have money for that or anything right now. I mean, just want to build the thing for him to get him inside. There's no like
Yep.
extra stuff or anything right now.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing. Been working on this for a long time, trying to get him home.
Yeah.
And that lift is just to negotiate the split level, right? Like it's just,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It looks that way to me.
Yeah.
I'm assuming I was assuming the same thing. Sorry, I shouldn't have answered.
This is Gary, the architect, yes, that's correct. It's just servicing from the grade level halfway up to the ADU level.
Okay.
And have you spoken to your neighbors? I assume,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have good relationships. I mean,
Okay.
they all know Mark.
Yep.
They all know him, and yeah, they want him to come home and.
yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Now, I know you're in a flood zone back there, so I can see you've elevated, you've got this elevated up a bit, and you've got the deck elevated up, and the other addition is elevated, so is there any change in drainage off your roof? Anything like that, since we do have more impervious area, just based upon that, so I don't know whether you've had the architects had a chance to take a look at that, and also where the utilities are going to be, like, is there an additional AC unit or anything like that?
I can speak to that if you want. Gary again, the architect. Yes, so we tried to keep the amount of impervious material to a minimum. So the driveway is asphalt for 23 feet by 12 feet. That's because obviously a wheelchair, so it can't be a gravel. We
Right.
did extend from there to the street, a gravel driveway. So it was as much pervious material as possible. On site, there was already an existing area drain. You can see that on sheet, let me see here, A5. There's already an area drain about centered underneath the ADU. And there's a whole piping distribution to collect water and bring it to that drain, and a sump pump to pump it out. So we do have downspouts in some locations, and we're gonna be tying into that.
Great, and in terms of lighting, I know there'll be a necessity for, additional exterior lighting. We just ask that you respect the dark skies lighting policy that the town has. In other words, all lighting is angled downward, that your neighbor won't be having any lighting pitched in their direction on the house. I'm specifying. Okay,
Yeah, that's consistent with what we have.
great, okay.
And sorry, Gary, did you say, are there going to be new utilities, or, and then if there are?
Yes, there's a new heat pump that's sidewall mounted above the floodplain level.
Okay,
And if you go to sheet A6,
Concrete.
you'll see it right above the lift. There's a note that says wall-mounted condenser, and it's a light gray box that's kind of shown. It's a little faint, but it's wall-mounted above the floodplain.
okay.
That's the only additional on-site account equipment.
What's the concrete slab on A5 for? Is that existing or no? That's,
Let me pull it. Oh, that's, we have steps going down,
oh, for the
From
for the
the
deck.
deck.
Got it.
and you can see that on A6.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, So I just, I have to ask because it's, being proposed as an ADU, so there are essentially, supposed to be two, independent units that are, it's not an extension, it's not an addition to your house, it's an ADU, so it could be, it's like a separate house in itself. So I just would like to understand where where the doors, where the separation between your home and the ADU is.
Okay, I guess I'll continue on, Gary again. So if you go to sheet A6, this is the same level as the ADU. So you can see it says open to below. So by the kitchen of the ADU, you'll see a swing door. It's number A10. That is the entry door into the ADU that separates it from the stairs that goes
Yeah.
down to the entry and separates it going into the existing house.
Thank you. Are there any other access points into the existing home, or is that it?
No, there's one more. On sheet A5,
Okay.
you'll see door D04. That's also accessible off that stairwell. Again, has nothing to do with the ADU. The ADU is a floor above, but you can get from the entry into the house from that level as well.
Okay. But essentially, if there were not her husband living there, for example, there is a way to completely seal off that unit from the rest of the house. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed to know.
And still maintain proper egress for safety reasons, correct?
Correct.
I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions? Who's going to open it up to public comment?
Unless you had any comments from butters or anything like that, I don't have any other.
And the roof line being taller, I mean, this is me catching up to speed, but that's okay, as long as it's within the code. It's just taller than the existing building, the peak.
It's still less than, they have a 35-foot,
Right, okay.
so.
Okay, with that, I'll open it up to public comment. Are either of you here for, no? Okay. Anyone online here to comment on this petition? Okay, doesn't seem that way. Any other comments? No? No? All right. In that case, I'm just going to run through the special permit requirements. Okay, so the requirements for approval of a site plan special permit are minimize the volume of cut and fill. There really isn't any cut and fill. The number of removed trees, there aren't any. The area of wetland.
There's a
vegetation.
relocated tree, but relocated.
Okay, sure. Good point. The area of wetland vegetation displaced, the extent of stormwater flow increased from the site, soil erosion and threat of air and water pollution. I think we've addressed all of that with the drainage comments that we just went over. Maximize pedestrian vehicular safety, both on-site and egressing from it. I don't think there's really a change in the egress, so not really applicable. Minimize obstruction of scenic views from publicly accessible locations. The height is within the, requirements, and I don't think any neighbors have come up with any issues there, so I don't think we have a problem there. Minimize visual intrusion by controlling the visibility of parking, storage, or other outdoor service areas viewed from public ways or premises residentially used or zoned. Again, not really an issue there, and not much is changing on that front. Minimize glare from headlights and lighting intrusion. I think the only thing we spoke about there was dark sky compliance. Otherwise, there's not much in the way of lighting intrusion. Minimize unreasonable departure from the character, materials, and scale of the buildings in the vicinity as viewed from public ways and places. I don't think there is much of a variance, and you've done a nice job making it consistent with what's there. Minimize contamination of groundwater from on-site wastewater disposal systems. I don't think that's applicable. Ensure compliance with the provisions of the zoning bylaw, including parking and landscaping. You've determined that it is compliant. Minimize adverse traffic impact of the proposed project. There really is no traffic impact. And minimize the hazard of coastal flooding. And I think we've spoken about that in terms of the measures you've taken to reduce any reduction in pervious area. So with that, is there a motion?
Yeah, I mean, I have a comment.
Yeah, sure.
First of all, I would be happy to make a motion, but I have a question. So I am I am a non-architect, so I have no business asking you this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. When I look at this house, and it's a split level, I live right nearby, we have a ton of split levels in our neighborhood. So, the roof line that was originally there on top of your garage, and you have the new ADU roof line behind it, which kind of pops up in the back, is they're very different. And I'm wondering, was there any reason that you wouldn't have wanted to sort of lower the roof a bit on that part of the ADU and have it angle outward so that it matched the existing roof line? It was a little more, compatible with the existing roof line. Now again, please, forgive the stupid question because I'm not a design expert. I just thought I'd ask.
Sure. A lot of it was driven by getting as much height in the cathedral ceilings, open space as we could, because the unit is small in square footage. So we wanted to increase the height of the volume of the interior as much as possible. So we worked with that. Also, the mechanical fan cooling unit is located above the kitchen. In order to fit it in with enough clearance for headroom for that fan cooling unit, we had to pop up a little bit above the other peak. And there's most likely going to be a gable vent as well to allow cross ventilation into that attic area if we choose to do that.
So what about, can I ask one more stupid question? So if
Sure.
I'm looking at A8, for example, and I'm looking at the rear view of this, right? It seems like you can elevate take the two edges of the roof and like lift it up almost to match the existing roof. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
the roof line is, believe it or not,
Really is.
very complicated because if you look on sheet A8, you see the extension that goes out over the deck area.
Yeah.
It actually has to align, it should align with the fascia of the existing. So that dictated a lot of the slopes. So it was, and then on the other side, it has to loop around to the front of the building and align there. So it was, it was a little complicated to get this to work.
Thank you for indulging my question. It was very, very nice of you. Thanks.
No problem, thank you.
Jared, I didn't hear anything from you.
Savor it.
I was going to, but I don't know.
That was
Yeah, no, I guess I just want to say I'm really glad to see ADUs working in situations like this, because it really is about people staying in their community and their community being micro, so that they have their neighbors and they have that. So I'm really glad to see a policy like this working for your family, which is, I think that's
I
the
mean, he hasn't
way.
been able to come into the house since he had the stroke because of all this. He has never been back into the house, so.
Yeah,
great.
no, so that's
wonderful.
That's wonderful. So
Dream.
that's what we'd like to see. I'm sorry that this is the reason you're doing it,
Right,
but
me too.
what a great way forward. So,
Yeah.
I'm very pleased with that. I had similar questions on the roof line, but your explanations sort of answered those for me. But I feel that the way that this is tucked all the way at the back of the house, the altering roof line is not going to be present in the front. It is in the illustrations, but generally we're not in a drone flying around looking at it.
Right.
So I think it will be much more minimized from there. But no, and I really appreciate all the work going into dealing with the floodplain, and I've noticed how many drains you have in your yard already.
Yeah.
So, you know, that piece of it, of course, that's great because, you know, this will be where you can all take refuge if we get a big storm. You know, invite your neighbors. But no, I'm happy to see that this is working,
Yeah.
and addressing
Me too.
your needs.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too. And
A lot,
I echo
a lot
his
went into
comments.
this.
Yeah, and, yeah, we wish you the best, obviously.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I don't know. I'd be happy to make a motion if that's where we are at.
I think so.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the planning board approve the site plan for 5 Robin Lane
Three.
for a house addition that is.
3 Robin Lane.
includes an
Three
ADU.
Robin.
Lane.
3 Robin Lane.
Oh, sorry, 3 Robin Lane, pardon me, 3 Robin Lane. For a site plan special permit for an accessory dwelling unit.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Angela Ippolito, yes.
Jared Jerma, yes.
Joe Sheridan, yes.
Ariane Purdy, yes.
All right, so moved.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome,
Good
good
luck.
luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Before we move on to the next one, Krista and I spoke about this a little bit, but there might be, I think the permit was still required in this instance, but there's a little bit of a disconnect between the Massachusetts general statutes and what we have. And I think we'll need at some point to have a zoning bylaw to make sure that everything aligns in terms of,
Are we on the ADU still?
well, I'm just saying separately, like that's closed and.
No, but I mean, are we talking about?
We're talking
the
about
ADU
ADUs,
policies?
yeah, right, yeah. So, I just, we should just have that on our radar, and.
Yeah, and that's
probably not
something-
something that we're gonna address at this town meeting, but, you know,
That's something that I can talk with the building commissioner, and we can draft up some language
Okay.
potentially to make more sense
Yeah.
moving forward, since it's something that we've seen quite a bit this year
Yeah.
as we get more interest in ADUs.
yeah.
So my quick question,
Yeah.
just for clarification.
Yeah.
So basically, because what was passed by town meeting, the state permits more and therefore overrides it, but we should clean it up.
Maybe, because it's not totally clear, like, what if you're doing an ADU and some other stuff, like they were doing here, right? So, yeah, we just need to clean it up so that it's clear, like, what are the thresholds for when an ADU is 100% by right, and when is it not?
And just remind me, in the ADU that we passed, the ADU policy we passed.
Yeah.
We had an ADU policy, which was the attached ADU, which this falls under, but my understanding was the one that we added was detached ADU, correct?
Yeah, you can have either,
Right,
yeah.
right, okay.
Yep, okay. I just wanted to make a note so that it was timely. Okay. All right, now we will open up the hearing for petition 2608 by Jeff Tucker, requesting a site plan special permit to raise the roof ridge of the existing single-family residence to expand the attic space, resulting in 3 stories and 902 square feet of living space in the A1 zoning district at 11 Eula Street. Mr. Tucker?
Hello, everyone. Thank you. By the way, as an aside, Marblehead just went through the effort that you just described. So we had
Oh.
an inconsistent ADU bylaw, and they just cleaned it up at town meeting. So just
Okay.
as a
Well,
little bit
good luck.
of free,
Thanks.
friendly neighborly advice. So I'm here tonight. I believe Julie Callum has just landed from overseas, so she's joining us tonight. Our request here is to put or essentially to cut the existing roof off of of an existing home and extend that ridge upward, and to create additional square footage in the attic. The existing home is conforming, and it is on a non-conforming lot. All of the work would be happening on the existing footprint. The addition would exceed the 500 square feet, which is why we're here for special permit. We're also going to be exceeding the requirement for the 50% rule for a third story, and we're going to the zoning board for that. We've spoken with the building commissioner about that. So we are on ZBA later this month for that effort. So this work here, actually, if you can go to the cover page, please. One of the things as an architect that I like about the existing building, you'll see it in the photograph on the bottom, is it has existing rafter tails on that lower pitched roof. Our plan is to actually preserve that and then install a higher pitched roof to be able to accommodate the dormers that are facing Yulo Street. The existing house has a very flat-roofed shed dormer. I wouldn't even call it a shed, more like a box on the back of the house. That would get extended and actually have a decent pitch to it along the rear. And then again, there's the hip dormers and the shed roof on the front. This would create 2 bedrooms and some living space up on that third floor. Julie has 2 kids that are grown now, and so this is to be able to accommodate a kid that wanted to come home and stay for a little bit longer by giving them an independent space, but this is not an ADU. This is purely additional living space within the attic of the home. We've provided the site plan where you can see that the entire addition stays within the setbacks and does not extend out over the existing footprint either. Really, the only relevant piece to in terms of floor plans, we provided you with basement first and second floor plans. There's no real changes there. It's primarily the attic level that we'd be changing. Can I answer any questions?
Well, you answered one question for me, which is how you can go to the zoning board of appeals for the size of the third story, which is interesting because the house is a beautiful home, and it almost begs to want that extra space on top. I see, it certainly doesn't look excessive or anything like that, but that's very interesting. So, because I wasn't aware of, I didn't see that anywhere in the zoning bylaw, but that's a whole other issue. I was going to ask you, about, did you contact the historical commission?
We have not. We do plan to contact them due to the roof removal.
Yeah.
So the Historical Commission was actually notified. This was the first permit that was submitted in the online portal. So they were actually notified as a reviewer, and they had the comment that the demolition permit would trigger historical review for this application.
It would. So this house is it's on our historic register?
Because of the way that the process goes, the comment was to let the applicant know that this will be reviewed when they apply for the demolition permit, because that's the way the process is.
I was just curious. It was on it was in the inventory. Okay.
I don't believe it's actually in the inventory. I think it just is because of the age of the house, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, over 75 years. It
Okay.
could be.
Okay.
They'll do their review.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And actually, to kind of further on the question that you had about the 50%, we actually did do a study of staying below that. We're going to exceed the 50% by 200 square feet. The second floor is 1,400 square feet, and our attic square footage will be around 900 square feet. We did do a study to try and stay within it, but it did not fit the need for the owner. So we did need, again, we did do a study, but we needed to exceed that.
Okay. But the building commissioner told you that you could go to zoning for that. That's what I wasn't aware of, not that,
He did, yeah, that was an early conversation with him, so yes.
Yeah. Yes. So this is on the agenda for the May 26th zoning board meeting, and they're requesting relief to go from 2.5 stories to 3 stories, even though it doesn't exceed the maximum height.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any questions, to be honest. I mean, it's clearly within the footprint of the existing building.
How does this work if he's going to ZBA after? Like, if we were to approve this and ZBA were to deny it, then what happens? Do we know, Krista?
So they could either revise the plans and come back,
Come back to us.
but it wouldn't be able to move forward without the ZBA approval.
They'd have to come back to us too, like.
They would have to revise the plans and come back here with new plans.
Right. What happens is, Ari, that our plans, after we approve, let's say we approve the site plan special permit with condition that it has to go to ZBA. That goes to the clerk's office and that remains at the clerk's office. Nothing is getting processed or certified until they get the decision from ZBA. If those decisions don't match, then it has to, then it has to go back to both boards. If the decisions do match, then it gets filed at that time together. So there's one filing with the registry.
Yeah, right down the street from this, there was a very similar project done on Bradley, almost identical. So I just wondered what the outcome.
Okay.
It's within the last 5 years, I think, but it's at the intersection of Bradley and whatever that dog leg ULO goes into.
Yeah, Bradley.
It's right at the bike path, the house that's right at the bike path.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember that house, right, okay.
They put the 2 dormers and then I think there was even a cricket in the middle too. They raised the roof.
My only question is, it looks like the generator and the AC units are moving, right?
They are. Yep.
Is there anything going to be done to screen those with the neighbor?
Yes, if you'll notice that they're actually in a planting bed, the plan is to change those plantings, so we have some evergreen plantings screening
Okay.
those from the street and from the neighbor.
Great.
Okay, and did you have any comments from your neighbors,
Julie has reached out to her neighbors, but she has been away, so she's had brief conversations with them, but we certainly plan to have a more engaged conversation prior to ZBA.
Okay.
Krista, we didn't receive anything, right?
So I did receive. Sorry, hold on one second. A question about this 20 minutes before the meeting, and asking where to look at the plans from some neighbors that said they would not be able to be here today. They'll also be notified of the ZBA meeting.
Yeah.
I did receive some phone calls just asking for me to explain the height difference in the plans that I walked through with them. Once they learned that the height of the house isn't actually going up that much, it's not going up a whole story. It's only going up a few inches. They didn't seem to have any comments.
Okay, thanks.
Jeff, I have a quick drawing question,
Yes,
and it's just because I'm having a hard time.
it's because you teach architecture.
I'm a nightmare. The roof plan,
Yes,
which is, the roof plan is this diagrammatic? Because it doesn't match the elevations. How the existing lower sloped roof is meeting the higher roof. In the elevations, it's extending, there's an eave under the new roof, and it's extending out beyond the diagonal line. So if you look at page 6, you'll see that the original roof is coming right to the corner, and on the actual elevations, the roof is pulled out, so that there's
yes,
a
I
bit
see that. Yeah,
overhang.
essentially, we pushed out the rake further than that. You're correct, and it's also, on page 6, it looks like we have a bastard hip there, and we don't. In other words, a hip
Yeah.
that the angles are not the same. We'll certainly fix that. It should be 45 coming into there, and that would show that the gable actually sticks out past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that's just an error in drafting it. We've actually since.
It's a really complex intersection.
It is.
To visualize.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I think in this plan, it's very straightforward, but then you have absolutely no overhang on
Right.
those gable ends. So, good.
We've actually since switched to a BIM software where the errors should be less, but yeah, it's purely a drafted roof plan.
Yeah, it was mostly a curiosity.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get my head around it, but I think the scale is looking great. It does not, I mean, the variance of the dormers, I think helps minimize the scale of it, and I'm very glad that you're hanging on to that original roof line.
Yeah.
Because that is referencing lots of things that were being done with roofs on houses back in the 1910 to 1930 range. So it's a nice detail in there.
Well, it helps keep it looking like an attic as opposed to a 3-story wedding cake, you know?
Right.
But that beautiful shadow, sad to lose that.
Okay, with that, I'm just going to open it up to public comment quickly, or longer if people have things to add. You guys aren't here for public comment on this?
Yeah, I'm just a neighbor to see the drawings.
Okay.
And understand what's going on in the house.
Okay, sure. Anyone online here to comment? Doesn't seem that way. Okay. Then I think this is probably a good time to just run through the requirements. So, so starting with 5481 of the bylaw. So the project needs to minimize the volume of cut and fill, the number of removed trees, 6-inch caliper or larger, the length of removed stone walls, the area of wetland vegetation displaced, the extent of stormwater flow increase from the site, soil erosion, threat of air and water pollution. This is all within the envelope of the house, so I don't think any of this is applicable. Maximize pedestrian vehicular safety. There's no impact. Minimize obstruction of scenic views, like we've discussed. You know, and if anyone has anything to say, feel free to chime in on the board. But we're not going above the existing height, so there really is no intrusion beyond what's already there.
Can I ask a really quick question of Jeff? Are the chimneys being extended?
They are.
It looks like,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes, we are going above the existing height. We are not exceeding the maximum height.
okay,
We're well
okay.
below
That's a
that.
good
Yes.
point there. Okay, so there is some potential obstruction, but I think it's minimal and
And you're not really in a view,
fits with the-
view scenario.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
okay.
And chimneys we don't include them in height, so,
No, but that was a good call.
yeah, good call.
Minimize glare from headlights. There's no impact on headlights because there's no traffic impacts. Minimize unreasonable departure from the character, materials, and scale of the buildings in the vicinity. I think we've all said that this looks great and is in line with the character, so no issue there. Minimize contamination of groundwater. There is nothing there other than outside the envelope, other than the relocation of the utilities that we discussed. Ensure compliance with the provisions of this zoning bylaw, including parking and landscaping. We've determined that it complies. Again, minimize.
Yes, it doesn't, excuse me, that one does not comply.
Oh, sure,
So
but we're
that
gonna
would
go to
be
the ZBA.
conditioned upon-
Right,
Right, it'd be conditioned upon
Yeah.
ZBA, right.
Minimize adverse traffic impact. There is no traffic impact. And minimize coastal flooding. Again, it's all within the envelope of the house. There really is no impact there. So
Okay.
with that, any other comments or emotion?
I don't have any other comments. I'm happy to make a motion unless somebody else wants to do it.
Let it rip.
Okay. I move that, that the planning board grant site plan special permit for 11 Eula Street, Swampscott, conditioned upon the applicant obtaining zoning relief from the zoning board of appeals, and with the recommendation that the applicant work with the planning board, with the historical commission to, resolve any of their questions, and also to be tuned into any comments from the neighbors and just be, willing to answer questions and so forth, as you've done already, but in case anyone else pops up. And that's it.
I'll second the motion.
All right. All in favor? Angela, you want to start?
Angela Ippolito, aye.
Jared Jerma, yes?
Joe Sheridan, yes?
Ariane Purdy, yes.
Okay, so moved.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Beautiful.
Okay. With that, we will move on to hearing for proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw prepared by Kleinfelder and the Department of Public Works to support MS4 permit compliance through reducing impervious surface area and promoting green infrastructure.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Mark Noonan. I'm the assistant engineer with the DPW. And we have online here, we have Elise Thompson from Kleinfelder. The town has an MS4 permit, municipal separate storm sewer system. That permit basically allows us to discharge our water to the Nahant Bay and other receiving water bodies around town. Every year there's requirements of the permit that we have to meet. There's all sorts of things we have to do. And we're in year 8 of the permit right now. And one of those requirements is to take a good hard look at our own bylaws and regulations as they relate to stormwater management and green infrastructure. So Elise has been working with employees at Town Hall to get ideas and incorporate proposed red lines into the subdivision rules and regs and the zoning bylaw. So I'm going to hand it over to Elise for her presentation.
I'll see if I can grab Bill's.
Hi, thanks everyone. I'm gonna share my screen.
There's only 2, I think.
Oh, there's only 2.
that we're sharing, yeah.
I thought you just left me out for a second.
Is it going to be on the screen?
That's
Yeah,
fine.
it'll be on the screen.
Yeah.
All right, are you able to see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so as Mark said, hi, I'm Elise Thompson with Kleinfelder, and we're working with the town on proposed revisions for the ordinances for the Swampscott MS4 permit. So the 2016 Massachusetts Small Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Permit, or the MS4 permit, is issued under the Clean Water Act NIPD's program. And this permit requires the town to assess the current street design and parking lot guidelines that affect the creation of impervious cover, and assess local regulations to determine feasibility of allowing green infrastructure, and also updating regulations with the recommendations made to minimize impervious cover and incorporate green infrastructure in the town bylaws. I think in permit year 5, we reviewed the following: the Swampscott zoning bylaw, the subdivision rules and regulations, and the stormwater management and erosion control rules and regulations. And we reviewed and found some changes for the zoning bylaw and subdivision rules and regulations that could be incorporated to increase use of green infrastructure and low impact development. So the last 2 years, town departments that provided comments on the red lines included the Department of Public Works, Community and Economic Development, Department of Facilities Management, and select members of the Planning Board a couple of months ago. KP Law also performed a legal review of these red lines, and the red lines presented in the PowerPoint incorporate these changes from the town and the legal review. We presented the proposed zoning bylaw revisions to the zoning board in April, and now we are presenting the zoning bylaw and subdivision rules and regulation revisions to the planning board. So basically the goals of these revisions are to identify areas within the bylaws and regulations that allow for excessive creation of impervious areas and impede the implementation of green infrastructure. So we looked at EPA guidance documents and other Massachusetts municipalities, and we also prioritized revisions based on feedback from DPW and the goals outlined in the master plan from Swampscott 2025. The main items are minimizing impervious areas and removing barriers for implementation of green infrastructure. So going into the red lines or the revisions of the subdivision rules and regulations, The first item is adding language to limit area of impact, grading, and road lengths while maintaining safety and usability. This is in the design, section 4, design standards under streets for location and alignment. Then regarding road width, this is specifying that the street width of 28 feet, which is specified in section 4, design standards, streets. The 28 feet is a maximum for residential subdivisions, and allowing for reduced roadway widths where appropriate, including for low density residential areas or streets with high pedestrian areas. And also permitting or requiring additional space for roadside low impact development infrastructure such as rain gardens, bioswales, or for bike lanes. Regarding curbing, under the design standards for streets and the section 5 for the required improvements for approved subdivision, street and roadways, this is allowing curb cuts, notching, or perforated curbing for low impact development alongside roadways, and allowing decreased curb distances for low trafficked areas, and allowing pinch points, which is reductions in road widths. Regarding the design standards for dead-end streets, this is adding a provision to allow for one-way loop streets in lieu of cul-de-sacs to minimize impervious area creation. So it would just be a one-way loop street instead of a cul-de-sac that could have a vegetated island within the middle. Under design standards, streets and protection of natural features, adding language to preserve native soils and avoiding excessive grading. And then under section 5 for the required improvements of an approved subdivision for the grass strips, adding language allowing use of native vegetation and different soil or gravel mixes. That can be used for rain gardens, swales, or other low impact development features within those grass strips alongside streets. And then regarding alternative stormwater conveyance in the street right away, adding language to allow for vegetated open channels instead of the traditional curb and gutter systems to convey and treat stormwater runoff in low and medium density residential developments. And under section 5 for the required improvements regarding the storm and subsurface drains, water pipe and sewer line extensions, adding language encouraging use of green infrastructure and low impact development to convey and treat stormwater as streets and parking lots are replaced, repaved, or installed. Moving to the zoning bylaw proposed revisions, there's only a few proposed revisions for this bylaw. One is regarding off-street commercial parking. So this is allowing a decrease in parking requirements if there's proximity to general parking lots or structures, nearby on-street parking, or access to multimodal transportation, including bus routes, bike lanes, or community paths. And this can be reduced with issuance of a special permit by the Board of Appeals. The second one is regarding low impact development in parking lots, so allowing landscaped islands in parking lots with 6 or more spaces to be dry swale, rain gardens, or bioretention areas to infiltrate stormwater runoff. And then regarding off-street commercial parking for both the Smart Growth Zoning Overlay District and the Glover Multifamily Overlay District, this is would allow decreased stall size lengths to 18 feet to match the general stall dimensions of 9 foot width by 18 foot length in the zoning bylaw, and allowing up to 30% of the required parking to be designated for compact cars. And those stalls shall be at least 8 foot wide by 16 foot long. And then also allowing permeable pavers, given they do not present significant maintenance or accessibility concerns within the commercial parking lots.
Can I ask a quick question on that last statement?
Yes.
Can you go back one slide?
Yeah.
To allow or to encourage?
I believe the language is allow. I can go, we have,
The only reason I ask is like allowing something as long as it doesn't cause a,
Right, a disruption for the developer, which it's always gonna do.
yes, so the language that we have in the revisions have, say, permeable pavers or paving materials may be permitted, providing they do not present significant maintenance concerns and comply with all applicable disability requirements.
okay.
So stating that it may be permitted.
You know, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes. So I guess for all of these proposed revisions, it's just removing obstacles to allow for green infrastructure, low impact development, and reduced impervious areas. They're not necessarily all requirements, but if any proposals come along that want to use low impact development or green infrastructure, this removes barriers that would be present within the zoning bylaws or the subdivision rules and regulations.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we have any barriers to permeable pavers in the bylaws. In fact, we routinely encourage developments to use as much pervious materials as possible. And even in big projects like we're doing in Vinnon Square, to have green areas where we can, provide better drainage and so forth. But at any rate, my concern with saying allowed is, that assumes that we have a developer coming along that really wants to use this stuff, and we're gonna say, no, you gotta pave it with blacktop, and it's always the other way around. So my concern is that we need some language that has, I'd like to consider using some language that has some more teeth, that we find a way to enforce it, or, I'm always looking at planning as a way to get to yes, like how do we make this, like if they use permeable pavers, we'll give them X, Y, Z, so trying to figure out some trades to get to our goals. Like these should be our goals, not the goals of the developer, basically.
And I think that's where my question was based, because the allow seems as if the standard is to disallow. And therefore, we would consider this if you fought for it, instead of saying this was our desire.
Like it's okay if you want to use your paver, we'll let you do it. We're not letting them do it now, so you understand what I mean. I'd like to find a way to make it a little stronger. In fact, we did this back when we did a Kleinfelder study, gosh, I think it was a really long time ago, that we used for the beach entryways, and we also updated our
Coastal resiliency study.
Our coastal flood area overlay district, which is what it was called at the time, right? And we put a lot of the language in there, and we actually over time tried to strengthen that a little bit, working with the Swampscott, the Conservation Commission, and trying to get that language a little stronger, and then the new FEMA regulations help that, because there's a lot of new regulation around building in flood areas, so that's given us a boost as well. But yeah, these make so much sense, especially in our community. We definitely have flooding problems, and it's not going to let up. So I think I like this very much, and I'd love to find ways to strengthen the language, would be my comment.
Is the smart growth overlay zoning, that's the Vinnen Square area, that whole
Yeah,
zone?
well, there are two. Well, the smart growth overlay
What's that?
zoning district was the original 40R district that is now has the Glover multifamily overlay district sitting on top of it.
Okay.
So it's, it's two overlay districts on top of the existing underlying zoning. I know it's crazy, but the Glover multifamily overlay district is the one that regulates that property right now.
Right.
And so, because we have a petitioner who's, supposedly in the process of creating plans, we'd have to, I don't know whether we can go back and change some requirements, but that's why I'm saying sort of trade-off type of things are what I would be, where I try to go with that.
I guess what my question's leading to is this 30% of required parking allowed to be compact, because
I think they're already doing compact.
are they, so that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, they're trying to jam in as many parking spots as possible, just,
Yeah, it's good, yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay, I guess looking at, for this off-street commercial parking, I guess the revisions to this section doesn't state allow. It has that it may be permitted, given that they do not present significant maintenance and accessibility concerns. Yeah, I guess, as I said previously, the proposed revisions were more so as guidelines and to minimize or reduce any language within the bylaws or revisions that could prevent green infrastructure or low impact development. And keeping it more so that it may be permitted, and that up to 30% of required parking may be designated for compact cars.
Yeah. I mean, I think the recommendations, in my opinion, are spot on, and I'd be happy to even go over review some of the language with the chair and other people on the board, just to kind of jot down where I think we could just wordsmith it a bit to make it a little stronger if we wanted to. It might be a little tricky for us to edit zoning that's currently being, or amend the zoning that's currently, in use, or that's currently being applied under. So, but there's other things that we can do, and I do think that we're definitely on the right track, and this gives us a lot of good ideas. I think the subdivision recommendations are great. Typically, we don't even get streets that are that wide, 28 feet, because we just don't have the room, period. So, yeah. And there's always, but the recommendations are excellent and very helpful.
And I think narrowing those, I mean, since I've been on the board, we were looking at a paper street becoming a street, and a lot of the regulations were excessive for the area. So to have that flexibility in there, I think, is a great addition.
Yeah, agreed.
And I also like I've always liked the circle as opposed to the cul-de-sac. I think it's cul-de-sacs are our fire department has routinely said, we'll try to manage, give us a hammerhead at least, we can turn around. I mean, and it really puts our, the fire department at risk, and they're bad, and we've done it because people claim hardship and they can't build something like that. And, that's something I think we really have to, we just don't have that many developments that it's going to, that we shouldn't be doing this. And, I'd be fully in support of that.
I'm also curious, there's a couple of areas that I can think of in the Olmsted district where there are enormous cul-de-sacs that, by actually getting in some water management, would not only deal with some of the runoff, but it would also, in a really powerful way, impact getting some green into an area that's a heat well, and, you know, so it'd be interesting to see if we can figure out ways to maybe address this and look at DPW plans to reduce paving when they're doing repair projects.
And even some of those little islands, you know, that are really, you know, they're integral to the Olmsted design. Okay, those little triangular things that are within the district. So I'm not suggesting that any of those get modified or deleted, but within those islands, I mean, maybe there's opportunities for rain garden space and improved drainage, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think any opportunity to use any of the space and to turn impervious cover into green infrastructure to infiltrate rainwater versus sending it to the stormwater system is what the goals of these revisions are.
So if you want to send us the red lines, then, I mean, I'm assuming like Joe, we could, you know, first we could meet with Krista, we could spend some time reviewing them. For December 2026, we're going to need a timeline for, you know, how far back we have to start working, which is probably like, you know, in July to try to get the language right and get to town council, and then, you know, just submit it in time to suggest to the select board and so on and so forth. So why don't we put together like a timeline or something and try to figure that out?
Yes, we have a memo with the revisions in the zoning bylaw and subdivision rules and regulations that I can send to Krista and she can distribute.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys doing that work. I think it's you know, it's really important for all of us. And I don't personally see anything, you know, objectionable. I don't know how the other members feel, but yeah.
No, I think that was very positive.
No, it's great.
It'll be great to, you know, look at it, and then, yeah, we can find some time, Angela, to review and see what the timeline looks like, you know, to line everything up over December.
Right. Elise, if it's the memo that you had sent earlier, I will resend that to Angela, and we can get comments to you sooner rather than later.
Yep,
on the
it's
language.
the same.
Okay.
Yep, it's the same memo.
Okay, great.
We'll send that, and so that we can look at it sooner, and then we'll get any specific comments to you.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, thanks.
The next thing on our list is discussion of potential zoning amendment to the Humphrey Street Overlay District to preserve existing ground floor commercial space within mixed-use buildings.
So this is me, so hold
Okay.
on one second. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
I wonder if our earlier architect knows he left his
I was wondering the
computer
same
on.
thing. At least it's muted.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I put together a brief presentation just for discussion with the board about the Humphrey Street Overlay District and potentially trying to figure out if we want to take some measures to preserve ground floor commercial in the Humphrey Street Overlay District. I'll get started by saying that we have had quite a few recent inquiries over the past year or so. Basically, the way that the Humphrey Street Overlay District zoning is written, there's nothing preserving, or there are no protections for existing ground floor commercial. So if, like the requests we've been seeing, it would only require planning board approval for site plan, special permit, and design review to convert an existing commercial building to all residential under 6 units. So right now there's no provision in the Humphrey Street Overlay District that is protecting that existing ground floor commercial and that existing ground floor retail from being converted to residential. And the intent of the Humphrey Street Overlay District is to promote mixed-use development, so support a walkable, vibrant downtown, and encourage economic activity in small businesses. So the bylaw allowing for the conversion of existing ground floor commercial to completely residential doesn't align with the purpose of the Humphrey Street Overlay District. So we have had multiple requests and plans that have been approved, plans that are in process, and pre-application requests to do this. Developers will say there's no, there's no market demand for office or commercial or brick and mortar nowadays, but really and that is a trend in certain markets, but really for the Humphrey Street overlay, we're trying to preserve those neighborhood scale type uses. So that will always be in demand for a walkable corridor that's in line with the purpose of the Humphrey Street Overlay District. So it's a little different than the trend we're seeing away from office uses or just general commercial type stores. It really is something we want to preserve in this district.
I mean, we haven't discussed this yet, but I completely agree. I think one of the things that Humphrey Street has suffered from for years is its inability to have a critical mass of retail and restaurant. And it, I've only been here 21 years, but most of that has been a real struggle. And it's not until the last few years that the dynamic nature of Humphrey Street has started emerging. And I think the loss of storefronts to create residential really plays against this. So I think it would be a great thing to introduce. The question that I have is, how do we introduce that?
Right, and that's what we'll get into. So what we're seeing right now is a trend that would allow for incremental loss of ground floor commercial over time. So like it's slowly going away and converting to residential, which isn't visible, overnight, but it's something that definitely impacts the mixed use land use of the corridor. So here is just a general map of the underlying zoning for the Humphrey Street Overlay District. The specific trend that we've been seeing is in the B1 underlying zoning is what allows for residential uses by right. So in these B1 areas is where people could potentially come in and convert commercial properties to residential under 6 units and not have to go through any sort of use permit process. They would have to go through special permit for design review, but they would not have to go through to the zoning board regarding the use. And that's in the B1.
Yeah. Even more importantly, to build on to what Chris is saying, when these kind of infill developments are happening and people say, oh, but that's what Swampscott really needs, we need these kind of market rate, what do they call them? Oh, workforce, that's the new term, developments, but not one of them has been anything other than market rate, at which they're extremely expensive apartments.
Well, that's why they do it, because it's more lucrative for them.
Right, exactly. So it's just, and then they can flip the building and walk away. Nobody wants to deal with trying to, or partner with anyone that has a creative outlook on a space or that wants to work with the town to create kind of a little energetic center where there could be, the restaurant. We've done really well with restaurants along Humphrey Street. So I 100% agree. It's also been an issue for us at other properties that we have requests in on that are not necessarily in Humphrey Street, that are also, down by the railroad on, Pine Street was that same situation. Pine Street started off with the first plans we had commercial space on the bottom because it was a commercial property for years and years. And it had residential on top, and we went through many iterations of that. This is all prior to the Veterans Building going in there, but that was kind of, led up to that. But in any event, it's happening in that area as well. If I could just jump in and say one more thing, Krista, and it's all in support of what Krista has put together here. When we did the Vinton Square zoning, the rezoning there, what was really important is that we didn't lose critical commercial space in Vinton Square. So we did, when that mall was built, there was a whole, I don't know, probably you're all too young to remember how the Swampscott Mall looked, but it was a really ugly mall. No offense to Andy if he's listening, but it was very ugly. It was double stores. You'd walk in an aisle down the center. So it was sort of double deep for stores. So the retail stores that are there are extremely deep. So we were like, well, somebody wants to make it a little smaller, they can. But the point is, when we rewrote the zoning, any existing building had to maintain, depending on the building, at least 50% up to 75% of the commercial space that was in existence, if it was going to be modified in any way. And as it turns out, we are actually increasing commercial space in that area and building one residential building that has parking underneath. So it hasn't happened, and I think that's been a really successful policy. It's something that if we want to amend the Humphrey Street overlay, we certainly could.
So my misunderstanding by being B1, is it zoned B1? Like, if I'm looking through this, it says it needs a special permit for residential.
So under 6 units, so in the Humphrey Street overlay district standards, there's a table. So basically these existing mixed-use buildings would be converted into a 6-unit residential building, and that wouldn't require any sort of review regarding the use of the building. That would just be allowed.
It would specific.
It would only be design review and Humphrey Street site plan special permit review by the board, but the board wouldn't be reviewing the use. It wouldn't even be going to the Zoning Board of Appeals for use, which is kind of where this lies, that there are no protections for those uses in this district.
It doesn't seem like it was the intent of the overlay district.
Exactly. So
by doing B1, it seems like they were probably trying to discourage residential development.
Right. The purpose of the district is to promote, vibrant, walkable, mixed uses, and the way it's written.
Was the thought probably that the 6 units would sort of not exist within, but what we're seeing is expansion of these buildings. They grab the 6 units.
They grab the 6
Yep. And to convert the existing commercial space, take out the glass storefronts and just make it into a residential building, which there's nothing currently as this is written to stop that in the design standards or in the regulations. These dots on the map are recent conversations we've had or recent approvals, so you can kind of see where the district itself isn't very big, so over time in this area, losing the ground floor commercial space would be something that ideally we're not hoping to have happen.
Do you know which buildings those are?
I do specifically. I'm not going to call them out specifically, only because there are conversations that are mid-process. They're allowed, as it's written right now, they're allowed to do it.
Yep.
We have in conversations, I've encouraged them to, ideally, that's not what we would support, although it says that that's something that you can do right now. So this map is looking at the current land use. And it's kind of hard to see the mixed uses on the screen as it's shown, but it's kind of these dots. And the fabric of the Humphrey Street Overlay District, all of these blue parcels are tax exempt, so you can't even consider them. There aren't a lot of mixed uses, but there are a lot in this area and sprinkled throughout. And so when you're thinking of even losing a few properties, losing that ground floor commercial, every property makes a big difference in this corridor, and that's kind of what the point that this map is trying to get across.
And we've had some some loss of mixed use through fire and so forth. The building next to Hadley School went from mixed use to straight commercial, which is actually fine in many ways, but it does erode the concept of mixed use. It also pulls functional apartment-sized units, small units out of our housing stock.
There are also subtle differences between like the inn that was there and now the apartments that are like on the ocean side, right? That-
Oh, yeah.
So that was activated as an inn with people coming and going, and it's much more closed down now.
Yeah,
Mary.
yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of, I think I've already gone over this. Why is this happening? Mixed use is allowed, but it's not required. The B1 areas is where this is happening. The ground floor design standards are written for commercial uses and almost assume commercial uses, but they're not required. So when there are these conversions to residential, it doesn't always make sense the way that the design standards are written. And so basically converting commercial to residential, there's no regulation on that. And that's kind of where we want to go with this. So how should we respond? So you could require ground floor commercial use that, you know, could potentially having it as a requirement would be, you know, something that would definitely be enforceable. But there are a lot of existing older uses in the area. You know, that's something to weigh whether you would want it to be a requirement, or there could be the simplest way to go about this and to start protecting things right now would be to just regulate the conversion of existing commercial space. So trying to protect what we have rather than requiring, we can have this conversation. Do we want to require mixed use or do we at the very least want to regulate the conversion of existing commercial space to residential so it's not incrementally lost over time?
Right.
Right. So I have a slide on conversion control. I also have a slide on required mixed use. It's hidden right now. We can pull it back up if we want to talk about it. But at the very least, I think that the board should consider thinking about conversion control, which would be something along the lines of requiring a special permit to convert from commercial to residential in the Humphrey Street Overlay District. It would get reviewed. They would have to have some criteria they would meet, whether it's demonstrated vacancy for over 12 months. If their argument is this specific space, you know, they would have to prove that, and then the board would have to weigh that. That would provide case-by-case flexibility, as well as preserving existing commercial uses, but it would rely on the board review. So that's something we can start by talking about that. And then we can also talk about potentially requiring ground floor commercial in certain areas. I can pull that slide up, or, you know, there's a version of this where it could be a little bit of both.
Could you show us the other slide so we could see it both? Then maybe we can talk about it.
I mean, I think the concern with requiring it is this idea of vacancy, right? We don't want a bunch of vacant storefronts if economic times dictate that we can't keep a commercial base in these fronts, but
that's also that's a controllable phenomenon.
Right, so you could,
based
yeah,
on,
right.
You know, you can create an unrentable space through A, condition, and B, rent. You know,
yeah.
Well, right, they could get it and just say, okay, well, I'm going to wait 12 months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's my fee
And that's-
for building the
that's-
building is the loss of the rent.
Or, you know, they can market something, it's sitting vacant, but. you
Not
know,
actually
like,
lease
one
it
of
to
the
anything.
things around here is that our perceived rent value is out of a line. I once had a merchant from, actually, he was in Vinton Square, and before he closed, he moved to Marblehead, but we used to have Trader Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we don't have Trader Joe's anymore is the retail the retail equation is in concentric circles. And when you place a place like that against the ocean, a huge section of that concentric circle has no residents in it, so that it doesn't match up to performances. So you sort of lose the big businesses like Trader Joe's, that they're able to draw those concentric circles in other locations. That's why it's in Saugus now.
Right.
Is they just they couldn't draw from this region, and that's how they did their math.
They didn't have this, according to them,
It was also
the space was not ideal to expand or do anything with it, like they would.
And it was their lowest revenue.
It was their lowest revenue, yep.
in the
Yeah.
company.
But that's because they couldn't sell beer and wine.
Yeah.
And they couldn't sell beer and wine because they didn't have the space.
Because we wouldn't, yeah.
And we ended up creating new, liquor permits or
Yeah.
permits for beer and wine permits. But the fact was that they couldn't expand their space. It wasn't big enough for
Yeah.
that.
But that's the
And they
thing
had to
with,
get out.
the thing with Marblehead and Swampscott is we have this huge turnover
Yeah.
because we do have a limited draw. But
Right.
that compared with our rental prices. So it's something that's controlled within the market.
Well, the commercial tax base is a concern here too. Like they have to pay twice as much as they do in Marblehead.
Right, exactly.
But Marblehead has as much of a, if you watch the turnover in Marblehead,
Oh, they have a lot of turnover, yeah,
they have
right.
huge
Yeah.
turnover. Yeah.
So, Krista, you were saying that one of the concerns with this option, with just requiring ground floor uses, that there's certain uses.
Right. So we can
There.
talk a little bit about this. So this would be requiring non-residential uses on the ground floor. It could be in certain locations on Humphrey Street. It could be, the entirety of the overlay. That would definitely be the strongest option. The consideration would be that it reduces flexibility for existing property owners, and it would require relief to not meet that. It would be, people would have to get a special permit to opt out rather than a special permit to change something that's existing to something less desirable, like commercial ground floor to all residential. So it's, yeah. Go ahead.
It's completely reasonable to require that, or at least a portion to do, what we did at Vinnen, to say that anything that's existing there that is a commercial space, that any existing commercial space that is in B1, an underlying B1 district, we can say, which includes any underlying B1 within the Humphrey Street overlay district, because I think that's the,
That was the
fair way
original
to do it.
intent, and I think that was the original intent of marking that as a B1, yeah.
Right.
Can you put the map back up?
Maintain the residential portion of it on the ground floor, and that the relief can be maybe the percentage of that has to remain commercial. Like in it, but they're not that big. The ground floors of many of those buildings are just not that big. So it's perfect for, the kind of commercial uses that are actually doing well here.
And couldn't you also, so to not penalize the existing owners, right? Couldn't you say, okay, well, for the existing owners now, we can, there could be some consideration for relief or special permit, but at any transfer, when the property transfers, then these stricter requirements fall in, like it's a requirement to make, so that you're not selling to someone who's going to convert it to all residential. Can they do that? Like
They'd be great, if we changed it, they'd be grandfathered in.
anyway,
Right.
so they'd be
Keep on
grandfathered
doing
in
it.
anyway.
Yeah.
If they're currently using the building.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if they haven't applied for anything, or it's just, in ownership somewhere and it's not being used, then it's
Krista,
like any other property.
what would the special permit requirements look like going the other way? If we said the base is that you have to have commercial, but you can apply for a special permit to, is it still like the same test that?
I mean, that's something that if we're drafting this into the bylaw, we would
Yeah.
come up with those provisions and the board could review them that way. Something to note with these maps. So if we were to require ground floor commercial in B1, there are a few properties, that are just multi-family residential properties. And the thought for why off the bat allowing for the conversion would be the simplest option. Is it's not, the people who have existing property on Humphrey Street, we don't want to cause alarm by, changing the requirement for their use. So, there are things to weigh when considering what we want this to see when we get it passed.
But do you think there are concerns even if we're talking about existing uses and not something that, we're not going to try to go back and claw back something that's been 100% residential for, it's permitted, it's built, we're not, I certainly think that would be unfair, but, I can think of a couple of those right along that stretch, but I don't think if it, I think anything that's existing, we should be trying to preserve. We're talking about existing,
So this would be a
Yeah.
bylaw change that needed to go in front of town meeting for it to
Yes.
happen.
yes.
So I think one of the questions here is what is palatable, what does not feel like it is targeting property owners, and what seems that something that we can defend as we have a strong desire to have Humphrey Street as a mixed-use commercial corridor. And therefore, it sounds sort of kooky, but we were able to, not kooky, because I'm pointing to you because you said this and now I'm saying it was kooky, but realistically, the Concordia went from public use to private use. And it was a big swath of our main street.
Hold on, it was always private use.
Yeah, but the people were coming, I guess for me it was
No, but-
activated, it was more
But
activated.
I could walk,
Yeah, it
I
wasn't-
could
yeah,
walk
it- barely.
into, I
I
could
see what
walk
you mean.
into a
Yeah.
space,
Have-
and now I cannot walk into that space. I mean,
Well,
that's what I'm
You could
talking.
walk in to go to a desk to rent a room, but you couldn't just
Right.
walk in and hang out.
No, but at the same time, there is a significant difference there.
Right.
But I think that is now someone's used to the Concordia there, and most people don't remember
They don't,
the way that the street felt.
Yeah.
But I guess the other piece is when we look at this corridor, one of the things that I always, when I'm thinking of Humphrey Street, and this of course gets into another whole conversation around the redevelopment of the Hawthorne site. But one of the problems that we have is we have a convex curve that holds our retail, which means there is never a sight line, so you don't have a consistent concept of space. And one of the few places that you could have a double-sided corridor of publicly activated commercial space is that zone that's up toward, that is the Hawthorne site. So thinking about how do we talk about buildings that aren't built yet needing this, plus maintaining our commercial core, so that people don't perceive it as a overstep.
Right. Yeah, framing will be really important, whichever way that we go about it, and the public outreach and engagement, and the way that this is presented will be need to be well thought out.
But Krista, so if you go back to your original kind of thought on the recommendation, if we don't do it by requiring it, and it becomes more of a regulate, so they apply for special permit, there's no teeth to say you can't do this.
That's right. It goes to zoning and zoning.
And zoning says there's nothing that says you can't do a residential thing,
That's right.
so.
That's how zoning's gonna look at it. They don't look at it from the same perspective
No,
that we do.
it's just gonna be it's
They're
a legal
gonna say-
argument. I'm allowed to do this, and they're gonna say, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
So-
You're exactly right.
So we can, I think those are really good points. We could do a combination of the two, where we require ground floor commercial use, but also I think it'll be very important to make sure there are no more conversions of existing commercial to residential. So having that protection in place is something that at the very least is necessary to protect any other commercial uses from being converted.
Well, and to prohibit there being some precedent set for whatever happens on the Hawthorne.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Would we consider like redrawing the map at all? Does that make sense?
Redrawing what map?
The B1.
The overlay map or maybe the underlying.
It was
I mean, I know that that's like a whole other can of worms.
This was kind of a big deal when it first got, I remember this kind of,
Yeah.
these districts.
But to make people, because obviously, Humphrey Street's weird too, because you have these stretches
Yeah.
of residential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're thinking, well, maybe we don't want to freak those people out, and, I guess it would be kind of, my initial reaction was, oh my goodness, I haven't thought of this before, and we should require that there be ground floor
Yeah.
commercial, because this is such an important, gateway for the town. And I was also thinking, as we're talking about it, more like, I don't know, it seems odd if we had that be blanketed, because it wouldn't even make sense anymore for some of these strips.
Oh, who
where
are
it's,
grandfathered, yeah.
Right, and it wouldn't necessarily be redrawing anything. We could select certain areas within the Humphrey Street Overlay District to be like a sub-district where we designate ground floor commercial would be required. That wouldn't change, the overall boundaries of the district. It would just be creating a sub-district within that has additional standards.
Well, is the sub-district not really claimed by the B1, A4, A2 designations?
What do you mean the sub-district? What do you mean, the underlying zoning?
Yeah, right now the way it's written is the underlying zoning designates how it goes through the Humphrey Street Overlay District
yeah,
permitting
right, correct.
process. So it would
Yeah.
be
Right.
overriding that in some potential way.
Yeah, I mean, the underlying zoning is just, it's basically was patterned on the original patterns of development when zoning was first adopted by the town, which is back in like 1952 or something. So whatever was in use then is how it got zoned. There was no rhyme or reason. It was like the wandering cows theory, it was in terms of laying out the zoning. That's why it's so spotty and funny, it goes B1, A1, A4, this, And
Well,
we did change some of the 8 districts just to allow more multifamily, but obviously the really small ones along Puritan stayed. So anyway.
I'm sort of confused how the fish house and the parking lot are A4.
The Fish House is its own historic district, so that's just not showing up the right way.
But it is underlying A4 underneath that.
It's underlying A4,
Okay, well,
yeah.
that's just because, who knows, because there used to be little fishing shacks along there.
But
You know,
not the
the fish house
50s there
was,
were.
but the fish house was built pretty early on, so I don't know why it was A4, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Right.
And then the
It's-
A2, I'm curious about on the edge of Greenwood. Yeah, what's the small one?
Is that the yacht club, the?
No.
So I believe the A2 kind of travels up. I can pull up the the full zoning, but I believe A2 kind of travels
But
in here.
Like, when I look at this, we've got B1, there is mixed use in A4, in the sense of dental office. Is there any other one along that strip? Because right against the Fisherman's Beach is a dental office. That's
Right.
also in A4.
Yeah, the dental office was a home before, and it had a dental practice on the ground floor, which was
Right.
allowed at the time, to hang a shingle outside your home. That whole stretch of Humphrey Street down there was all residential. And the only commercial space was one of the commercial spaces was the original Captain Jack's building. That was an inn, so it was zoned commercial. And then when Captain Jack's bought the other 2 properties, they were A1 or whatever they were. And the former owner, combined those 3 lots, and he created an enormous commercial lot. It was one lot when he solicited the developer, which is exactly what happened. He solicited the developer to buy it and build condos there. And he had already combined the lots and, you know, what can I tell you? That's how that whole thing went down.
So I guess when I look at this, if we're talking about the overlay district, we could talk in existing use and new construction.
That's what I think I was thinking about it too. So like if there's a
Yeah.
if there's a residential property there, yes, they can keep it residential, but if it were ever raised and we required business on the ground floor, they'd have to comply.
That's right. You would have to convert back to the B1, and in the B1, we'd have to require that there was residential on the ground floor.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I'm thinking with the condos
Commercial on the ground
that are in the
floor, sorry.
B1 section across from, they would
So the
be fine as is.
Yeah.
But if they were ever to replace those condos.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
When it would be introduced as that, and then I think there would be a reasonable argument for a special permit.
Yeah.
for
But
it
if,
not
but
to be,
half
because
of that
it would be
lot, half of that lot that is just condos, but the other half, and it almost goes right down the middle, is, you know, that little strip mall with the 7-Eleven, whatever it is, and then next to it is the A1 Motors.
yeah.
So, yeah, so only half of that has those 3 condo buildings.
when you didn't mean
4
lot, you
buildings.
meant that B1 zoning right through there.
Yeah, the B1 right across from the
Yeah.
fish house.
Yeah.
And then if the current properties are residential and they're conveyed to somebody else and they're not demoed, they stay residential. They don't
The
have
whole
to.
property was, I think the whole property was a commercial property because the surf theater was there, and then
yeah.
there were little restaurants right along the street where the antique shop and the hair place and the Nordhaven is now, and there's a realtor there too, along the street. Then there's the 4 condo buildings stuck in there, and then you've got the Little Hen and that whole strip mall, and you've got the A1 Motors next to it.
So is that the direction that we should try to explore, where
Yeah,
construction requires a ground floor commercial and,
That's
guess
what I think.
for the existing uses, you know, if you
Okay,
sell
but-
it, nothing happens, but if you raise it, then.
The one thing that I would say on that is it all makes sense, except in this district is Blaney Street. And that could be
that's a good
sort of,
point.
that'd be sort of a crazy situation that you needed to put
Actually,
commercials.
Blaney Street's A4.
No, but it's
Right,
in
but
the,
it's in the overlay.
it's in the overlay district.
right.
Be like car dealerships on, there's like a mechanic
Yeah.
shop on Blaney
Well,
Street.
you know, we can talk about,
We
yeah,
could,
we can talk about that line Humphrey Street. I mean, we can say that are directly adjacent to the
Right, yeah.
Humphrey Street corridor.
yeah,
We can make that distinction if we want to.
it could be a provision that says for properties directly adjacent to Humphrey Street, you know, this applies.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know,
I really do.
new construction would require ground floor commercial.
Yeah, the trouble is that we are constantly being, like, the second something comes up and it's available for change, we're constantly being pushed. We're being, you know, with the Humphrey, with even the Hawthorne property now, there's just, because of pressure that we're facing, you know, we're in a very different spot as a
Yeah.
town financially than we were when we bought that property. So there are a lot of different considerations to talk about. You know, I served on that committee, that Hawthorne committee, and I can tell you that there are, you know, there's a whole school of thought that thinks there should be some residential development on there. And I'm not gonna, I don't think it's right that I comment one way or the other on that
There
right
could be,
now.
right, Angela, as long as they put some.
But if it was,
retail on the ground floor.
yeah, if
Yeah.
it was truly
The
mixed
problem-
use, where
Yeah.
the upstairs was residential and the downstairs was commercial,
Right.
I think it's in the spirit of the
only thing
district.
that- Right, and I agree. I think that what was concerning, well, to me, and there's no reason not to, that, is that there was a sense when the town meeting voted to buy the property, that this was something that, at least a portion of it was the town's. Like, this belonged to the town. It was going to be some public space there. It was going to be commercial, but it'd be sort of, there would be there might be a little commercial. I shouldn't say, what it should be, but there might be a little commercial along the street to knit together the fabric of Humphrey Street down that end, perhaps. But it was there's a very strong sentiment in all the research that we did that showed that people feel strongly that there needs to be this ownership sense. So my point is that there was this feeling that if there was residential, it would create conflict with my space, my private, yard, my private driveway, my private, little yard, piece of green versus what is open space for the town. So those are things that can, of course, be, designed correctly, that could be dealt with in certain ways. Mm-hmm. Those were just the sentiments that came up.
But I think that definitely sits within how something is planned and designed, because there's a lot of very vibrant public spaces that on the second stories and third stories, there's private homes, there's,
Right.
apartments, condominiums, and, if you wander around Newburyport or Portsmouth, or a lot of these environments that have coastal fronts, that existence happens, and you just don't even notice the residential aspect of it.
No, I think the difference here is we become landlords again, which is like what's been happening, more and more is like, we're landlords to a pot shop, and we're landlords to, so that's where, I think that's where the public gets a little, the hackles are up for that.
But I think at the same
time. And then
time,
there's the whole notion of, do we sell off part of it? And then, that really made people crazy because they went through a lot to buy it. Mm-hmm. But, So, Chair, remind me why you weren't on that committee? I just don't remember. Just kidding.
Don't you remember why I wasn't on that committee?
Yes, I remember very well. I'm making a wisecrack.
We have time though, right? Because we're not getting this in front of town meeting next week.
No, that's right.
No,
exactly.
But we don't have as much time as we think, because I'll start by doing some work based off of the comments from tonight's meeting to get a general idea of potentially something that, based off this conversation, that the board might be interested in looking at. I do think that the conversation around the Hawthorne property is really important. I, too, was present for a lot of those meetings, and I think that there is a lot of passion from the community on how that property is going to be used, whether it's, no commercial at all, just a park, mixed uses, whatever it is. I think if that property is going to be included in what we propose, we have to be very, very intentional about how we state that to the community who just went through this process to come up with a recommendation for that property. I want to make sure that it doesn't feel or seem like they went through that process, but we're just going to recommend this. That it kind of feels like whatever this is feels as though it's at least come out of that recommendation and aligns with that whole process that the community just went through.
Where are we in the timeline to actually do a community update from the planning board at this town meeting? Because would this be an intelligent time to talk about the fact that we're looking at the Humphrey Street corridor, set the stage, comment on the fact that we're excited about the vibrancy of Humphrey Street? Because I think anyone that's lived here any time realizes it's vibrant right now. I'm always amazed when I pick up my kid and driving home. I'm like,
a lot of people.
Look at this. There's a lot of people, and and talking about how to keep this moving forward in a very general way to sort of set the stage for maybe could we have something for the fall town meeting?
Potentially.
Well, it sounds like it sounds like there are people who are starting to think about doing residential on the ground floor, so there's some urgency on that front.
I think at the very least, we should have something for special permit for conversion of,
Just to start.
conversion of commercial to residential, at the very least, that should be going in the fall.
Yeah.
You know, if it takes some
agree.
more time to do some visioning and exactly what we want, that's okay. But I think at the very least, to protect, you know, the existing uses, I think that we should absolutely have, at the very least, that going to the December town meeting.
And I would state my desire that
Yeah, and we can,
that
we
have
can,
something concrete.
yep.
But I don't know if it's too late to get a statement in front of town meeting. The other thing that I've heard said that
Excuse me, about what, Chair? Statement about what?
actually just a planning board sort of update, celebrating
can
what's
do.
happening over in Vinton Square. But one of the things that I had someone say to me the other day, and I thought they were right, that a handout might be appreciated much more than a 15-minute or 5-minute presentation.
Well, I mean, that, you know, that's possible, but we also understand that a lot of people watch town meeting on TV and won't be getting a handout. So having a little, you know, Article 2 has traditionally been reports of committees.
Yeah,
And
committee
we used to
updates.
do it.
Yeah.
We used to do it all the time.
You
And-
did.
and
I know,
we're-
but
we just got rid of it. Everyone was freaked out about getting out of there the same night we get in,
Yep.
so,
There's
you
basketball.
know.
Right. So
Right.
I had this conversation with Marzi this morning because I was asking, should I be preparing something for town meeting? And the conversation that we had was sometimes planning board members who are town meeting members like to go up and give an explanation of what's going on or an update. So that's something certainly that,
How, are all of us town meeting members?
I'm not.
I'm not.
I am.
I'm
Well,
not
the other
for
thing is-
specific reasons. But
Okay.
the tides are changing. I can't
But-
go back, but.
No, but
Okay.
So we-
it is a case that I think Angela, you and I can discuss, but we could definitely come up with some notes and just incredibly brief, celebrate celebrate what's happening in Vinton Square, that's visible,
Yeah.
that people are seeing it. I don't think right now we want to talk about Glover, because there's really nothing
don't
to
wanna
talk
talk
about.
Glover.
But
Yeah.
then talk
I don't
about
wanna
sort of
talk
the
about it.
vibrancy on that, and that we're looking at, you know, strengthening, you know, setting up, making sure that our policies are aligned with that, continuing to grow and be a strong cultural center for the town.
That's exactly
We also
how I would
have a
phrase
new
it, too,
master plan
rather than getting
that
like
needs to
too
get-
much into this, because, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
even amongst just this small group, obviously, it's like a big conversation, and before we put anything like,
yeah.
Nothing
big.
concrete.
yeah, nothing, yeah, just like.
But just
Yeah.
addressing.
Just looking,
just
we
said.
even,
Yeah.
we're just looking at the overlay district and
Yeah.
what's required and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and making
I think
sure
it
that
would
we're
be-
preserving the cultural
Yeah.
community that's growing
Right,
there.
yeah.
And that we're seeing
Yeah.
the vibrancy.
That was the
and
intent of
value
the overlay
and-
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay,
So the other thing we may want to think about just mentioning, we could do it with some short bullet points, is the fact that, I mean, assuming we get, I don't know, if we're going to be able to speak to select board before town meeting, is the master plan update, because it hasn't gone before them for adoption. I think we can adopt it.
It's
First-
June 17th is the joint meeting, planning board, select board.
Okay, right. So I wonder if we could mention that we're going to have
we
a
could
joint
mention
meeting on
that
that
we're having a
date.
joint meeting.
And that we can also say that the draft has been online. I think the comment period is closed. However, the draft version is online, and I think we could ask Carlos, the gentleman at MAPC, to give us just, give me just like cheat notes of, just give me a few bullet points of some good highlights of what we have changed, or what are the big highlights of, what's been updated. And there are some new sections altogether that were treated very differently, as they should be. So anyway, I'm just wondering what you think about that.
I can reach out to Carlos for a few bullet point highlights.
And
I
that's,
think it's a good idea. I mean.
yeah, but that's separate from the planning board, but that's definitely planning office.
The
Planning
planning
board-
board adopts, votes to adopt the master plan.
Yeah, the planning board, the master plan pretty much lives with the planning board,
Okay,
believe it or not. Yeah. And we did new housing production plan under that as well.
So if planning board members wish to speak and give an update at town meeting, you are welcome to do so. I can help if you want me to create any graphics or anything like that.
That would
Please let me know. Anything similar to something like this or
Mhm.
something like this,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
let me know and
perfect.
I can help.
So
Okay.
I'm not scheduled to give a presentation, but I can help.
town meeting is next week?
Yes.
It's next Monday and Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, I would be happy to meet with you on Thursday morning if you had time. I believe,
The 14th. I have a little time. I have to put on a luncheon for my mother on Friday. Oh,
I'm
God,
getting a
I
new
don't-
arm.
No! Okay, I'll bring my walker and you can come here.
I know.
Half an hour. All right, yeah, I just take a look at that. So that's fine. We can talk about that
Yeah,
offline. But think
I
we
can do
that.
Thursday morning
Okay,
if you would like.
then I can maybe, what time can you do, Krista?
Any time in the morning, so before noon.
Chair, can you go at like 9?
I'm trying to find the calendar. Oh, except I just hit the map with my clumsy thumb.
If the two of you get up at town meeting with your walker and your arm cast,
I
you might get some
know.
sympathy votes here.
Right. If I get up with a walker by then, I'm gonna be very upset that this thing isn't like resolved, so.
So are we, do you want to say
That's not gonna
9?
happen.
Yeah.
Sure, if that
9
works for you.
9
Okay,
works. I
let's say
will.
9. I unfortunately forgot, I just put sick day on here and didn't put the actual appointment, but I think it's at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
If I
yeah.
find out differently, I'll reach out
We
first.
can schedule it for earlier. I know that this conversation has lasted a while and
Been a good conversation,
kind of
though.
evolved into another conversation about town meeting. Did the board want to vote on electing new officer positions tonight?
I thought we determined not to because we're not all present, but I don't know if that is, my sense, if anyone is, is that important to have us all here, or?
I don't think Bill was,
think
Bill,
we
I know
already
that Bill
that
stated
was-
he
Yeah,
was not interested in a leadership role.
Right.
I know that I am not interested in a leadership role. I bet you on your first meeting
I
are
don't think I'm
really wanting to
interested.
take over.
I could be secretary, but that's about it.
Joe, you can talk about our discussion if you want to.
yeah, sure. Yeah, Angela and I spoke, and, I mean, you know, following up on our discussion from the last meeting, I would be willing to take on the chair position, and our understanding was basically that, like, you know, informally, it would sort of be like a little bit of a co-chair situation. I'm obviously going to, like, you know, be available when I can, but I'm in Boston a lot, and Angela said that she'd be willing to step in for, you know, some of the more, you know, informal stuff outside of this setting. And, I mean, I think we all work together pretty well anyways, so we can make it work. Even I think this is a good example of you offering to meet on Thursday. So I'm happy to do the.
Yep. And I think that we've already been doing things
Yeah,
beyond the chair,
totally.
vice chair.
Yeah,
And
right.
do you work remote
I'm
or hybrid?
I'm remote, I'm here.
You're remote.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
aside from site visits, I'm here.
Yeah, so for site visits,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm volunteering you, but I am happy to, as Krista knows, I meet with people and can pre-review things
Great.
and so forth.
I think we do a pretty good job of.
Spreading it
Allocating.
out, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
because you're chair and vice
Yeah.
chair, so.
Yeah. I agree.
So I think we can, you know, I can make a motion to nominate Joe again as chair, and then someone can nominate me as vice chair with the understanding that we are,
I will
You know-
second your nomination of Joe
I
as
will be-
chair
okay,
to speed this
great.
up.
okay,
All those
and
in
then.
favor?
Aye. Angela Ippolito's an aye.
Jared Germa is an aye.
Ariane Purdy is an aye.
Do I vote? I'm an aye.
There we go,
Okay,
unanimous.
alright.
And I would make the motion to elect Angela Ippolito as vice chair.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye, Angela Ippolito.
Jared Germa, aye.
Aye, Joe Sheridan.
Aye, Ariane Purdy.
Okay, so we know what we're doing.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
and then we don't have to,
Save us
Bye,
10
Ryan.
minutes
Yeah.
in a month.
yeah.
Okay.
So we could, if Joe's not available, first we go to Joe. If he's here, he's running the meetings. If, whenever he's here and available, he's running things. If he is not available, if there's offline stuff, at off hours, different meetings that we have, and he's not available, I'll fill in for him. But I just want to make it clear that, he's our lead person, and I'm, like I said, I'm happy to work with him, to fill in, and I think we're both comfortable with that.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. And we'll run, Krista, you've been doing a great job anyways, and like being that hub, which I really appreciate, making sure that we're all staying above board in terms of like communications and that sort of thing. So we'll communicate all those sorts of things through you.
Yeah.
I was going to nominate Gary Canner for his desire to stay in this meeting. Because really, man, that is a diehard participant. But he'd have to be elected first. So.
We usually do that to people who don't make it to the meetings.
That's right.
If you're not there, you're on this board now. You're on the subcommittee.
Okay.
I had dinner and walked the dog while you guys were.
Yeah, we saw you.
So we will have 5 sets of meeting minutes to approve at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Will you all try your best to review them beforehand?
Yeah, if everybody could, please, because otherwise we're going to spend half the meeting.
I'll be here.
reviewing.
I'm good. I'm on vacation from the 21st to June 5th, but I will definitely be back for that meeting.
Okay.
Did you say on medication or on vacation?
Oh, both, really. So.
Yeah, I just want clarification.
All right. Thank you for that, Krista. That was a really helpful presentation.
Yeah.
That's excellent, thanks.
And
I
thank
appreciate
you.
the conversation.
Thank you for your proactivity.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I guarantee
That's
that people
awesome.
thought that was B1 means no residential. Like, I really think.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's
that's
good to see,
in,
it's good that you have that nuance
in
kind of.
standard zoning. There is no residential in B1 like in other
Yeah.
areas.
Right.
So
No, so
yeah, I
it's
think
like, it's like an eagle eye. It's a good catch.
it was written, based off of that,
Yeah.
assuming that
You-
there is, residential
Yeah.
only
You're
is
right.
not allowed in B1.
Yeah. Yes, I chime in also. Thank you very much for doing that. I think it's great.
Yep. So next meeting, I'll hope to have more updates.
Okay.
And we can continue to work towards some zoning changes for December, because all of our zoning changes will be going in December. I will also put together some language for the ADUs
Okay.
with the
Okay.
900 square feet. Hopefully that shouldn't be even too big of a change, but it is an inconsistency.
Yeah.
So
And we've had a lot of inquiries on ADUs recently, so
jump in with where the inconsistency is on the 900 square feet.
so the state, basically the state statute allows for a 900 square foot ADU to be permitted as of right, with no other permitting, but our site plan special permit regulations require site plan special permit for anything over 500 square feet. So that's where the inconsistency lies. A lot of people will call the office assuming that they don't need a permit to do an ADU as of right that's under 900 square feet, and we tell them it's over 500, so you have to go to planning board for site plan special permit, which conflicts with what the state's regulation is. So
Right.
making sure that we have consistency there and we're not opening ourselves up for any other interpretations.
So with that, would we look at moving the 500 square feet? Because I know the 500 square
Yep.
feet was
to 900 for ADUs.
to 900 for ADUs.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So hopefully that
And
won't
I'd
be
like to.
too crazy of a change.
To 900 or 50% of the total square footage.
The existing residence.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I
Right,
actually was asking.
Whichever is more, right?
Yeah, right.
Wait, or 50%
It's a two-pronged thing. It's you can do it by right if up to the lesser of 900 square feet or 50% of the square footage of the existing.
So if you have a 1,600 square foot house, you're going to stop at
So to
800.
stop at 800.
Right, that's right. If there were any of those left anymore.
Yeah, the other question that I have is in conversions, are you still held to the 900 square feet? So if you've got a carriage house that's 1,000 square feet, are you only able to convert 900 square feet within that structure into ADU?
I thought we talked about this, and, you know, if it was like if you're in a carriage house, like you live on Devon's Road and you have a big old garage in the backyard and you want to convert that, and it's 1,100 square feet. I mean, what are you gonna do, lop off, a corner of the building? That's ridiculous.
Well, it might
So
be
I thought
how it's usage.
I'll have to check what the state
But if it's yeah, I
specifies.
think we have,
and-
if it's a pre-existing building, I think that's where we're going with it, because you're converting something that's pre-existing on the ground.
Yeah.
That's where I think the difference is. You can't build something that big,
Yeah.
but if you're
But we
converting it,
Yeah.
We
you
should
know.
check, because there's a building on Monument that is a barn, that if it were to be converted would be about 3,500 square feet. So we should find out what that means, if you can cut out an apartment in it, or if you just have a 3,500 square foot ADU.
Right.
Well, if it's R1, it can't have an apartment anyway, right? Like, do we have R1 and like 1 unit residential per property, or do we have anything?
Well, R1 can have an ADU.
Yeah, but it can't have like an apartment in a barn, right? Like, it wouldn't be like,
Well, but if
If
that,
it's an
You
ADU.
can, but
if it's an ADU, yes, if it's an
Yeah, that's
ADU.
what I mean.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
yeah.
Because I look out at this barn.
Right,
and
if it's an ADU.
It's always like a question in my head.
Right.
It's like, God,
Well-
there it is, you know.
Right,
what
chances
is that?
are it's been an apartment for a long time, we don't even know about it.
No, trust me, the
So-
condition of this, it's a wreck.
But they wouldn't be able to put multiple apartments or anything in there, like that would
Yeah.
be
That's-
prohibited,
Yeah.
We
And
do have a
how,
lot of weird illegal
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that have been there
So-
forever.
we'll see what comes in front of us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, can I just say, I really want to welcome Ariane to our board. I'm so excited that you're here. And
Thank
I'm
you.
just so grateful that you wanted to be a write-in candidate, and we have you on our board now. And
Well,
I'm
thank you.
very, very
Appreciate
pleased.
it. I'm
And-
happy to be here.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Thank you. This is
I
great.
am thrilled. I'm thrilled to have someone else that can
Read a plan.
read plans. Nothing against you guys. I think you're doing great, but these things get in front of you, and
You get quick. you have to
they're
be quick.
they're very hard to read.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I hear you. Okay,
All right.
thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
So moved.
I second it.
I mean, second. Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Uh,
Bye.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good
Thanks
night.
all.
good night.